The moon hung low and bloated over the jagged ridge, bathing the abandoned quarry in silver light that turned every shadow into a threat. I crouched behind a rusted excavator, heart slamming against my ribs like a war drum, the metallic taste of fear thick on my tongue. 20 paces away, silhouetted against the pale stone, stood the Wolf Queen, tall, silver-haired, her black fur cloak rippling in the night wind. But tonight she wasn't the predator. She was prey. And I was the only thing standing between her and the hunters who wanted her heart on a spear. Her golden eyes flicked toward me, wide with something I had never seen in them before, raw, animal panic. Blood streaked her left side from a silver-tipped arrow still buried deep beneath her ribs. The wound smoked faintly, the old magic in her blood fighting the poison that was slowly turning her immortal flesh to ash. She had dragged herself here after the ambush at the forest's edge, collapsing at my feet with a single growled command, "Teach me, how to fight like you. Like a human. Dirty. Desperate. Refusing to die." I had laughed at first, bitter, broken laughter, because the idea was insane. She was the Wolf Queen, ruler of 600 wolves, the one who had forced her blood down my throat and bound me to her pack. She had taken my family as leverage, forced me to lead her wolves through Black Sand Pass, turned me into something half-monster. And now, with the king's elite silver hunters closing in, she was asking me, the former farmer, the reluctant rebel, to teach her to fight the way I had survived, without honor, without pride, just teeth and nails and the screaming refusal to let death win. But there was no time for laughter anymore. Hooves thundered in the distance. Torches flickered through the trees. The hunters were coming, 12 of them, armored in mirrored plate that reflected moonlight like blades, carrying crossbows loaded with silver bolts and swords enchanted to sever the bond between wolf and queen. They had already killed 4 of her pack tonight. If they reached her, they would carve out her heart while she still breathed, and then they would come for me, for my wife Alara and daughter Mira still locked in that iron cage high on the cliffs. "Get up," I hissed, crawling to her side. My hands shook as I gripped her shoulders, feeling the unnatural heat of her skin. "You don't get to die here. Not after everything you took from me." She bared her teeth, a weak growl rumbling in her chest, but her legs wouldn't hold. The silver poison was spreading, I could see the dark veins crawling up her neck like spiderwebs. "I fight with tooth and claw, honor of the pack," she rasped, voice cracking. "Not this." "That's why you're losing," I snapped, emotion choking my words. Anger, fear, and a twisted kind of care I hated myself for feeling all warred inside me. She had saved me once by forcing life down my throat. Now I had to save her by teaching her how to be small, how to be ugly, how to beg and cheat and crawl if that's what it took. Wolves fight fair. Humans don't. We bite eyes, we kick groins, we scream and we run and we come back meaner. You want your pack to live. You want my family to live. Then learn. A twig snapped 50 yards away. Too close. I yanked the arrow from her side without warning. She arched with a silent snarl, blood, thick, shimmering silver, pouring over my hands. I pressed my palm hard against the wound, feeling the bond between us flare hot and desperate. Through it I could sense her pain, her pride fracturing, her terror for the wolves she had left hidden in the trees. And beneath it all, a fragile thread of trust she was placing in me. I dragged her behind the excavator's massive tire, the rusted metal cold against our backs. My mind raced, pulling every dirty trick I had learned in back-alley fights and desperate rebellions before the crown branded me traitor. "First rule," I whispered urgently, my face inches from hers, her golden eyes locked on mine with terrifying intensity. "No pride. Pride gets you killed. If you have to crawl through mud and shit to survive, you do it smiling." She nodded once, jaw clenched. I could see the effort it took for her to swallow her instincts. The Wolf Queen, reduced to listening to a human who still smelled like farm dirt and regret. Second, I continued, voice low and fast as the torchlight drew nearer, use everything. The ground, the dark, their arrogance. They expect a beast. Give them a ghost instead. I grabbed a handful of loose gravel and pressed it into her palm. Throw this in their eyes when they get close. Blind them. Then go for the soft parts. Throat, inside the knee, the eyes if you can reach. Don't swing like a sword. Stab like you're trying to kill the memory of every person who ever hurt you. Her fingers closed around the gravel, knuckles white. A single tear, impossible, beautiful, slid down her cheek, catching the moonlight. I have never been weak, she whispered, voice breaking with the weight of centuries. This feels like dying twice. My chest ached at the raw vulnerability in her words. This was the woman who had claimed me, who had forced a new life on me, who held my family's lives in her hands. Seeing her like this, trembling, doubting, stirred something dangerously close to love mixed with fury. You're not weak, I said fiercely, gripping her wrist. You're learning to survive the way I did when you took everything from me. Dirty. Desperate. Refusing to die. That's how humans win when the odds are stacked with silver and hate. The first hunter appeared at the quarry's edge, torch raised high, crossbow sweeping the shadows. His armor gleamed coldly. The bitch queen is here somewhere, he called to the others. Find her. The king wants her heart still beating when we bring it back. I felt her tense beside me, the wolf rising in her eyes. I clamped a hand over her mouth before she could growl. Not yet, I breathed into her ear. Wait. Let them come close. Let them feel safe. My heart pounded so hard I was sure they could hear it. Sweat trickled down my spine. Every second stretched into an eternity of suspense. The hunters spread out, boots crunching on stone and gravel, their silver weapons humming with lethal magic. One passed within 10 feet of our hiding spot, close enough that I could smell the oil on his armor and the sour fear sweat of a man who hunted legends for coin. Now, I whispered. The wolf queen moved like liquid shadow. Faster than I expected even wounded. She exploded from behind the tire, flinging the handful of gravel straight into the nearest hunter's face. He screamed as stones raked his eyes, staggering back. Before he could raise his crossbow, she was on him, not with elegant claws or a noble leap, but low and dirty. She drove her knee into his groin with brutal force, then slammed her forehead into his nose as he doubled over. Cartilage crunched. Blood sprayed. He swung wildly. She ducked under the blow like I had taught her in the frantic minutes before, grabbing his arm and using his own momentum to slam him face first into the excavator's rusted edge. The impact rang out like a bell. He dropped, groaning. But the others were coming, shouts rising, crossbows twanging. A silver bolt whistled past my ear, missing the queen by inches and embedding in the tire with a hiss of burning magic. She snarled, the sound half wolf, half human rage, and snatched the fallen hunter's dagger. It wasn't her elegant blade, it was a crude, serrated thing meant for gutting. Perfect. Stay low. I yelled, rolling out to join her. I had no weapon but the small knife at my belt and the wolf strength still singing in my blood. We fought back to back now, two unlikely allies in the moonlight. She moved with desperate grace, learning on the fly. Tripping one hunter with a sweeping leg, then stomping on his throat when he fell. No clean kill. Just survival. When another lunged at her with a sword, she didn't parry like a warrior, she let the blade graze her shoulder, accepting the pain, then drove her fingers straight into his eye socket, twisting until he howled and dropped. I fought dirtier. I grabbed a handful of sand from the quarry floor and flung it, then tackled a hunter low, driving my shoulder into his knee until it buckled with a sickening pop. We rolled in the dust, fists and elbows and knees flying. He tried to pin me, I bit his ear, tearing a chunk free. He screamed. I drove my knife up under his armor, feeling hot blood spill over my hand. No glory. Just the raw, ugly need to keep breathing. The queen was learning fast, too fast. Her movements grew more feral, more human in their brutality. She headbutted another hunter, splitting his lip, then used the moment of shock to ram the serrated dagger into the gap between his helmet and gorget. Blood bubbled. She didn't look away. She watched him die with those golden eyes wide open, absorbing the lesson. This is what refusing to die looks like.